folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. Today we got a kit reveal for a dwarf leader. It's coming from Biffer. We're going to talk about that. Does this spell a dwarf leader or dwarf meta incoming? I hope so, but I don't think so. So let's get into it. All right. Biffer, he's a support, he's a dwarf, and importantly, he's a leader. He was part of Thorin's company, and he's part of the, one of the dwarves that gets mentioned in The Hobbit. I'm going to read his description here. A stout dwarf warrior who knows his way around a battlefield as much as he does a hobbit's kitchen larder. Bifur also bolsters his dwarf companions while keeping their enemies on the back foot. He's a formidable foe to large creatures and to enemies with wide sweeping attacks. Notice the call out to large creatures there. All right, let's go over the basic. Even the odds. At unlock, attack the target enemy for 80% damage, and at max, attack the target enemy for 170% damage and dispel one boon. So, this is kind of like Pippin's basic in that he can dispel a boon with his basic. I'm curious to see whether it's going to come at level 6 like Pippin's, but this to me, combined with the large creature call out, means that I think they're trying to make Dwarf a Chapter 2 specific raid team. The dwarves in general. All right. This is funny to me. Special 1, Sticky Situation is just a funny name. He just throws a jam jar. And it's very funny to me because my guild leader's name is Jam, and I don't know. This just it's just a very weird and funny and goofy attack, I guess. Okay. Ability at start of battle is 4, and it costs 4 to use the ability, which means this is a turn 1 ability. At unlock, attack the enemy target for 90% damage and inflict blind for 1 turn. At max upgrade, attack that target enemy for 190% damage and inflict blind for 1 turn. If the target enemy is a large character, also inflict slow for 2 turns. So the PvE version of Biffer does this massive AoE that slows you down. He's in one of the challenges, the light crystal, the one that uses human and goblins. I think it's the light crystal challenge, and he's got this slow that's insane, this AoE slow. So it looks like we're not getting that on Biffer. Instead, we're getting a blind. And if it's a large character, also inflicts slow for 2 turns. This tells me something. I am interpreting and reading this kit as like specific good things for Chapter 2 of the raid with the cave troll, right? And to me, this means that you're probably going to be able to blind the cave troll, which I think is really good. And it also means Isengard is looking to be pretty good in Chapter 2 as well, with Morza's Disrupt and Ugluk's Blind. All right, let's keep going. Special ability 2, Rousing Tune. I do love that the dwarves are just, all they do is play musical instruments. Oh man, I hope there's a great sound effect with that. Like he's playing like a saxophone, and it's just like, yeah, I can't wait. Okay, this is also a turn 1 ability. It's 4 stamina, and you get 4 at the start of the battle. At unlock, grant 1 stack of defensive to self and ally with the most health. Okay. And at max upgrade, cleanse 2 Banes and grant 2 stacks of defensive to self and the ally with the most health. Grant 2 stacks of provoke to the ally with the most health. Okay, so this is basically, it's not an attacking move, but it's giving you a lot more. It's a support move, and he's a support character. Defensive is what? You take 30% less damage. I always forget with some of these buffs, which one is which. Okay, blocks the next hit from an enemy attack. And we don't understand exactly how much block reduces things. So, yeah, it's just going to reduce the incoming attack, but we don't know by how much. But keep in mind, it's something to keep in mind for his leadership ability. So, his passive, Full of Heart. At unlock, when all squad members get hit by the same attack, 50% chance to grant 1 stack of defensive to those squad members. This is a specific anti-AoE mechanic. So outside of now, maybe Eothane granting counter to everybody, this is a specific call out in a skill to an AoE attack, which I think is important because AoE is very, very strong right now in all game modes. Ability description at max upgrade. When all squad members get hit by the same attack, grant 1 stack of defensive to those squad members, and they gain 50% max health. So you go from 50% chance to 100% chance, and you get this extra plus 15% max health. I think that's just for him. Okay, let's talk about the leader ability. I'm not sure why they're giving the leader ability to Biffer and not Gimli or something like that. Maybe somebody who's more deep into the lore can explain that one to me if it is lore based at all, I guess. I guess I would have preferred to see it on Gimli just as like a I guess that's just what I would have preferred, but it's good to see that the dwarves are getting a leadership ability. His leadership at unlock. When a squad member gains defensive, which you get from his passive and from his special too, they have a 30% chance, doubled for dwarf squad members, to gain might for 1 turn. So dwarves will have a 60% chance to gain might for 1 turn, which is massive. Might is one of the best boons in the game. At max upgrade, whenever a squad member gains defensive, 50% chance, and double for dwarf members. So basically a 100% chance that dwarf members are going to be getting that might. And dwarf squad members also have a 50% chance to gain 1 stack of counterattack, another very specific anti-AoE measure. All squad members, oh, I like this. All squad members gain plus 15% resistance. That's going to be massive. That's big. I guess this would also kind of work for Chapter 1, too. In a way, right? I think this would also probably work for Chapter 1, just making sure you have the defensives up. You've got the resistance for the Skull Crushers. You've got this anti-AoE in case you do get hit by a bomb. Or, again, for the Skull Crushers. I think this is okay for a Chapter 1 team. It's not as good as some of the other Chapter 1 teams, and I think it's more specific for Chapter 2, but we'll see. Key attributes. Biffer, Dwarf Adventurer of Thorn Oakenshields Company, accompanying his kid. Is that 2? Okay, no. I just misread. Accompanying his kid as well as Bilbo Baggins to reclaim the Lonely Mountain from Smog. While on his quest to help reclaim his dwarven home, Biffer proved himself to be a tenacious, valiant, and brave warrior, slaying many foes that crossed his path. He also fought at the Battle of 5 Armies. This is actually super exciting because I think this type of thing here is what's going to eventually unlock Thorn, is making sure we have stuff here. Something Battle of the 5 Armies related, which I think will be really cool if that's how they do it. Emerging victorious and being rewarded handsomely by the Dwarven King of Durin's folk, Dane II Ironfoot. Biffer is also one of the few dwarves in Tolkien's stories who do not speak very often, which is, again, why I'm very confused as to why he has a leadership ability. Obviously, this is not going to be the end-all, be-all of dwarf leadership abilities, but just... Okay, I think I actually get it. They're going to have Gimli have a leadership ability eventually, and it's maybe not with this version of the character, but they will have one eventually, and they're kind of saving the big one for that. Maybe that's what it is. Strategy tips. Biffer's ability Sticky Situation is the perfect counter against large characters, helping to limit their next action and inflict slow. Blind on large characters is super, super important, and more important than putting it on a regular character, just because they hit so hard, but they go so slow to counteract that. So the one time they do have a move and they're ready to go, if they can't do anything with it, then you've basically done a pretty good job of counteracting them. Biffer's ability Full of Heart is designed to give your squad extra defenses against squads that do a lot of multi-target attacks. They mean AoE. However, because it's passive ability, Biffer must be alive for it to activate, so keep him protected. Biffer is the first dwarf with the leader ability, but don't limit yourself to only dwarves. A dwarf's nature goes into effect whenever the defensive boon is applied. Be sure to add allies that make use of this boon to Biffer's squad. So if we go back... Oh, I already have it open. These are currently the members that, or the characters that interact with defensive in some way. I think Arwen definitely applies defensive on her basic. Who else? I think Halbrad applies defensive to himself. Obviously, Elrond, I think, tosses out defenses, I'm pretty sure as well. Let's look at Legolas, because that's the only person I see in here that I would really think about using with Biffer. I don't see it. I don't see any sort of defensive. Maybe I'm just missing it, and that's very possible. So I'm not actually sure who you would want to, kind of slot in here. Obviously Gimli, because he's a dwarf, but everybody else, I'm not so sure. Everybody seems to kind of have a home already. Eklu doesn't grant defensive, does she? Am I in the wrong? No, I'm in the right. Something's not right here. Okay. Maybe it's for things to come as well. Because I think everybody else here is really granting defensive to themselves, and Arwen doesn't on her basic, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Gandalf does. That's okay. It might be able to use it with some sort of orc team, but again, I think it's mostly applying defensive to themselves. Yeah, Dunhar applies it to the lowest member, which is passive. On turn, grant stack of defensive to the most wounded squad member. So it could work with Dunhar, I suppose. Okay, but let's get back to Biffer. He's going to be a marquee. That marquee is August 22nd. So that actually starts next Tuesday. So we're going to get one more marquee this month at the end of the month here. Again, you need to be level 30 because he's got a leadership ability. He's got 7 tiers instead of 6. That's all I have here. But let me know what you think down below. I'm excited to have a dwarf leader. I don't think it's going to be arena meta defining. I do think it looks like it's going to be a pretty good chapter 2 team. So I'm thinking something like Legolas, Gimli, Biffer, Fili, and Keely, and just kind of leaving Fro out of it. And in that way, you're going to be able to take advantage of the crits that Legolas has, the crits that Keely has, plus you're going to be able to get some of that dwarf synergy online as well. I think that's going to work probably best because Legolas's leadership ability really affects elves and fellowship, and that's just going to be him and Gimli. I think this is probably a better option here. Just because, yeah, they gained whenever a squad member gains defensive, they have 50% chance. Yeah, so you're going to possibly get Might out to Legolas, and that's going to be big because he already hits like a truck and he's so fast. He's just got high DPS anyway, right? So I think that's kind of what their intent is, and that's supposed to be a very strong chapter 2 team. Probably Haradrim first, and then this sort of dwarf squad setup. But I think Isengard's also going to be really, really good in chapter 2. Let me know what you think down below. Just quickly, I guess before we go, I'm very excited because I've just got Keely to gear 8, and I'm working on Fili. He's at gear 7 right now. I'm going to try and get them to level 60 before we start our next raid here. It's proving difficult, though, and then I'm going to try and get them to 5 stars as well. But thanks for watching.